Hey, this is Jamie from iLearnFastSoftware.com. This lesson is titled Target Practice. Welcome to Chapter 4, Graphing Lines. If you have not seen the video that explains how to use this app, I recommend viewing that video from the home screen of this app before viewing this video or completing practice problems. This chapter we will be studying graphing. In order to get started, we have to learn all the basics about graphing on what is called a coordinate graphing system. Coordinate systems are very common these days. Video game and graphic designers must use coordinate systems to lay out their graphics. There are many other examples of people that use coordinates, such as architects, construction workers, engineers, interior designers, and airplane pilots. For example, you cannot just tell an airplane pilot, land the plane somewhere in Florida. The pilot must know exactly where to land that plane. Otherwise, the plane will end up in a swamp. On the globe, the coordinate system is three-dimensional, with longitude, latitude, and elevation. In this chapter, we're just getting started, so we only have 2 dimensions, and they are called the X and the Y. Our coordinate graphing system will look like this. There are 2 axes. The x-axis, which runs parallel along the ground from left to right, and the y-axis, which rises up and down. I use these sayings to help me keep this straight. X runs along the ground because if I'm running, I want to run flat on the ground. So imagine the X as a little stick figure running along the ground. Y rises to the sky. Y and sky rhyme, so that makes sense. Where the x-axis intersects the y-axis is a special point called the origin. Along the x-axis, the numbers before the origin are negative numbers. Numbers to the right of the origin are positive numbers. You read the x-axis just like a book, from left to right. The further you run to the right, the larger the numbers become. The y-axis rises to the sky, and the points below the origin are negative numbers. And the points rising above the origin have positive y value. The y-axis is like elevation. If you are flying a plane, the higher you are, the bigger your elevation. If you are submerged in a submarine, your elevation becomes negative. Each point on the coordinate plane can be represented as an x-y coordinate pair. As I mentioned, the point where the x and the y-axis cross is the origin. The origin has the coordinates 0, 0, because we're at 0 on the x-axis and 0 on the y-axis. To help remember the word origin, you can think about the letter O and how that looks like the number 0. If you're bad at spelling, have double vision, talk with a lisp, or are surprised by this, you can call it origin with 2 O's, and you'll never forget that the point is 0, 0. We write the coordinates for the origin like this. The first number is the x-coordinate, and the second number is the y-coordinate. Just remember, it's alphabetical, x, then y. There is one other thing you need to know about the coordinate graphing system. When you look at a blank piece of graph paper, do you see how it is split into 4 pieces? Those 4 pieces are called the 4 quadrants. They are named the first, second, third, and fourth quadrant. Pretty easy to remember, huh? The first quadrant is in this section right here. In this quadrant, all of the x and y values are positive, and this is the most used quadrant because in the real world, most values are positive. Then the quadrants are ordered counterclockwise. As we go backward around the clock, we start in the first quadrant. Back here is the second quadrant. Down here is the third quadrant. And finally, underneath the first quadrant is the fourth quadrant. If you study trigonometry, you will see why the quadrants are numbered counterclockwise. Let's do an example, and then we'll have some fun. Plot the point 7, -3. Tap pause now to try this problem before I explain it to you. In order to plot this point, we need to know the value of x and then to run right or left that distance. Then, from that position, we use the y-coordinate to tell us how far to rise up or down. What is the x-coordinate? 7. Remember, the numbers are written alphabetically, x, then y. The first number is always the value of x. So, if x is 7, which way should we run along the x-axis? Left or right? Right 7. Because the value is greater than 0, we need to run forward from the origin. Now that we're over at positive 7 on the x-axis, we have to decide how far to rise up or down on the y-axis. What is the y-coordinate of our point? -3. The y-coordinate is always the second number in our coordinate pair. Because the y is -3, should we rise up or fall down 3 from our current spot? Down 3. The negative numbers are located below the origin on the y-axis, so we move down. That's it! We've reached 7, -3, so we put a little dot there and we're done. What quadrant are we in, by the way? This is the 4th quadrant. Remember, the quadrants are numbered 1 through 4, starting up here and then going counterclockwise. Now it's time for my target practice. As you can see, I've got 4 points plotted on this graph, and I'm about to take aim at -2, 4. Which point should I aim at? A, B, C, or D? Tap pause now to decide which point is -2, 4. The first value is always the x value, which is -2. Which side of the y-axis are the negative x values located? To the left or to the right? The left. I need to run backwards on the x-axis back 2. The y-coordinate is the second number, which is +4. Where are the positive y values located? Above or below ground? Above, I need to rise up 4 on the y-axis. That's B. What quadrant contains -2, 4? This is the second quadrant. Let's see if I can hit it. Okay, that's it for now. Make sure you do the study cards before starting the practice problems. As you move from one study card to the next, you should read the statement. Think of the answer and then tap the magic wand button to reveal the answer. Once you have studied all of the study cards and understand everything, you can start the practice problems. Good luck on your practice problems. As always, I recommend doing all 10 problems. Bye!